This story comes out of Missouri. There was this man named Phil, and he said this one weekend, him and his wife decided to go camping in the Ozarks. They had this area that they would go to, which was a friend's property, and they had kind of set up like this cleared area where they could camp for the weekend. So they go there, they set up their tents and everything, and he's enjoying his time with his wife. Well, he said later that night they go to bed and they are in their tent when he just like has this really bad dream. And in the dream, there is something like running through the woods and it's chasing him. And he said all of a sudden this thing turns and it starts going after his wife. And then boom, he wakes up. And he said when he woke up, he looked over and his wife was gone. She wasn't in the tent. So he starts freaking out like what's going on? Like, where's my wife? So he got up and goes outside of the tent and he starts yelling for his wife. She's not responding. So he goes off in the woods and he's looking around for her, yelling her name. And then in the corner of his eye, he sees something moving in the woods. So he goes in that direction and there's his wife. And she's just standing in the woods, like looking up at the sky. And so Philip is like, hey, what are you doing out in the woods? Like, you had me scared. Like, I thought something happened to you. And she's like, oh, everything's okay, honey. I was just outside catching some fresh air. And he's like, okay. Well, do you want to come back to bed? She said, yeah. So they go back to the tent and they go to sleep. And the rest of the camping trip, right, is fine. They go back home. Well, he said ever since that night, his wife was just kind of different. Like something was off about her. And he couldn't really explain it. But there was a slight change in her voice and a slight change in kind of her personality and her mannerisms. And every so often, she would look at him and give him kind of this weird smile. And it just made him feel very uncomfortable. Well, he said one night, him and his wife, they go to bed. And they're just laying in the bed. And he said all of a sudden, his wife, her voice like changed. And she started saying like, I'm going to get you, Phil. I'm going to get you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I'm going to get you. I'm taking you back to the woods. And he's like, what's going on? And he said all of a sudden she jumped on top of him and started holding him down. And she was shaking him and up in his face, like yelling all kinds of swear words at him. And he said like he couldn't figure out how she had this much strength because she normally wasn't like a very strong person, but she was fully holding him down. He couldn't get up out of bed. And he said all of a sudden, like he pushed her and she kind of like fell backwards onto the bed. And he said the next thing he knows, he sees this light leave her body and then go out the hallway. He hears the front door open and then close. And this wind kind of just blew through the house. And then he said everything was silent. And his wife was like, what's going on, honey? And she was like normal again. And she was completely confused about what had happened. And she couldn't remember anything up to that point when they had went on the camping trip. And he felt like something had taken over his wife.